Hey everybody, just wanted to do a little video. I've been slacking quite greatly, to put it mildly. This isn't exactly the video I wanted to make today, but tomorrow I'm planning on releasing a new video going over the topics I had discussed and kind of previewed in my last video. But to get into the short of it, this is kind of what's been going on. I just wanted to give you guys an honest update. Um, Currently, I have been unemployed since the end of February. It's made things a little bit difficult, to say the least, but that's fine. Everyone has their challenges. And anytime a new business starts, there's always different things you have to take into account, whether it's needs of your family or if you have different things that just come out of the blue. And so, because of all of the things I've had to deal with over the last couple months, it's gotten a little bit more tricky and a little bit more tenuous at best for me to keep putting out these videos as quickly as I had been. But I really wanted to at least say something about some of the things that I've had on my mind recently. I've noticed a couple things happening in the world of, we'll just say the world of Utah, because that's where I live. And the things that happen here impact me more so than just about anywhere else. And I've really been thinking about my future, my husband's future, and just kind of what the next steps forward are. Um, I'm trying to get a job. I have decided that the industry I'm going to go for is retail. A lot of people are like, oh, retail, that's a dead end job. But what I have seen over the course of the last, I don't know, several years is that there is a ton of upward mobility in the retail industry. And something else that a lot of people also aren't aware of is that when it comes to upward mobility in any industry, retail has them beat for the most part. Because what a lot of people don't know is retail is the only industry that continually puts its employees at the forefront of moving up that corporate ladder. Now, the issue with a lot of trade jobs is that you get pigeonholed. Very few make it out of the labor stage. Because of that, what happens is you have this God complex about how good of an installer you are, how good of a troubleshooter you become. I hate this toxic idea of being better than someone else, because let's be honest here. We all have our challenges, we all have our pros and cons, and we have all of these things that we're trying to accomplish every day. And I don't think it's quite right to go out there and just showcase that anything is, you're better than someone, right? I mean, anything can beat whatever you make of it, right? But the thing I've noticed is that I made a huge mistake years ago when I left Sears. There was a manager that I was working with who was above me, and he told me as we were liquidating, that he was going to go work for a different store. And it was a brand new store. It was opening down in Utah County. And he had an opportunity to take me with him because he got to choose his assistant store manager. It's one of the biggest regrets of my life, to be honest, because at that time I was probably making, $28,000 a year. For 2017, it's not great, but it wasn't terrible. But that would have been a significant wage increase for me. And it would have been an opportunity to do something I really enjoyed. You miss 100% of the chances you don't take. And there's a lot that I've passed up over the last 5 to 10 years. And, I can say all of these things now looking back. And people are like, oh, but you're so young, you're 30, you're not that old. That's true. But you know what? Time keeps moving on regardless of how old you are, and it just moves faster and faster. And at this point, I am going to try and pursue a career with a different company. I'm going to find a retailer that I have values that align with, and I'm going to try and reestablish those connections because, to be honest, when I worked for Sears, that was on, and I'm not going to lie, that was literally my favorite job I ever had. And a lot of people are probably going to roll their eyes, but I kid you not, there were so many just amazing experiences I had where people were often looking at Sears as not just their saving grace, but that was their career. The GM of that store, for example, he went to college, for business management, and Sears paid for his schooling, and he stayed with Sears. He stayed in all forms of upper management, and he ran multiple stores. I can't remember them all. And he is an amazing guy. One of my favorite people I've ever worked with. His name is Adam. Um, but he is just an amazing person and someone that I aspire to be someday, just because he looked out not only for the guys on the sales floor, people just working the shelf in the back, people looked up to him because he was so optimistic and always looking for a way to try and reinvigorate the morale of the people on that team, any team for that matter, especially the appliance team. They got hit really, really hard once we got that notice of liquidation, and they were so depressed. And I will never forget this. He goes over to the appliance guys and says, "Hey, once liquidation starts, you're no longer getting these commissions, and so take it easy. You're going to get your severance checks and everything's going to be great." And so they go over to the area where there was some furniture set up for sale, and they just lay back in the recliners and just wait for people to show up. And the GM honestly encouraged it because it helped people feel happier to show up to work. The last couple days were really, really hard on everybody, but by and large, almost everyone who worked in that store stayed till the end. And I have a group photo. I'm not going to showcase it here because I don't have permission from everybody, obviously, but it was just amazing. Everyone just was ready to pitch in. And I have so many friends that work for companies like Costco or Target. I know there's a huge issue with Target, right? DEI and all of that. But I have a lot of friends that work for those companies and they love it. The atmosphere is great. The pay is decent enough. And, making $20 an hour today doesn't seem like enough, but it's enough to do the things you care about. And I want to keep making these videos for you guys, and I want to have that flexibility. And I know there's a lot of things to be said about not having as much flexibility, but I think there is something to be said for being happy in what you do. You could be the best rocket scientist, the world has ever seen, but if you're depressed and anxious every day, that's gonna lead to burnout, and you're not gonna finish your career and go into retirement. Chances are you're gonna have some health complications, maybe depression and anxiety, and that can lead to a decrease in production and all sorts of other things. No one wants to suffer. You shouldn't have to. But the truth of the matter is that we all want belonging, and at this point, that's just where I'm at. So there's a huge section I just cut out of here because it was uber cringy. But the one thing I wanted to let you guys know is that there is a huge change coming to the channel and a huge surprise for everybody who's kind of just been there. And just to know, some of these episodes might get longer in the future just because of some of these changes that are going to be occurring over the next couple weeks. But we're going to see where this goes. It might even be a monthly event. And so I'm really excited for this. If you can't tell, I've been smiling this whole video. But there are some new videos coming. I promise, just stick with me and hopefully I'll get those out to you guys soon. And until next time, this has been my coffee corner and I'll catch you on the next one.